Hi, my name is Bobby Letter, and I live in Lafayette, Colorado, and I am a high school math teacher. I teach statistics, AP statistics, and I teach geometry, and I also teach a senior math class. It's like that class, if you will, the one for seniors that would struggle with mathematics, and it's a personal financial literacy course now, where the students actually go through personal finance ideas and topics that are like mathematical as well. Been doing it for 10 years at the place that I'm at right now. It's called Peak to Peak Charter School in Lafayette. And before that, for 3 years, I worked in Taos, New Mexico, also as a math teacher as well. And in the last 5 years, I have slowly but surely accumulated through grants that I won a classroom set of iPads that I asked for in the grants. I got them from CenturyLink, from Great West Insurance Company, and from Discover Card. And I now have 30 iPads that are effectively mine in my classroom. And we utilize them in the class. And because I did that, like a lot of other teachers at the school started following me and started utilizing technology as well. And they started coming to me and asking me questions like, hey, what do I do? How do I do this? And I was often, I'm not sure. And I realized that I should probably be a little bit more confident with that. I should be able to answer those questions when they're asked of me. I should actually know. I should be able to come to them and say something to them. And so I looked around for how I could better myself in that regard, and I came across the Boise State's Master's in Education Technology program. It sounded just right. And I read about it, and it had all the elements in the curriculum that I was looking for, but especially important for me was that it had project-based learning, and that's how I like to teach. I like the students to utilize projects to evidence what they know, not just tests. Of course, I have to utilize tests as well because it's a public school and that's just the way that works. But, you know, I like projects. I like the idea that you are doing a project in order to identify something, and that's what this program asks of me. And it's worked out well. It was great. I jumped right into it in the summer of 2013, and I was hoping that this was going to be right, this was going to be good, this was going to be successful, and right off the bat, it told me it was. Um, we had the first two courses. It was 501 and 502, an introduction to EdTech, and then Internet for Educators. And both of those courses are a great introduction and a great start to this program because it really does lay the foundation for what you're going to do, not just what you're going to learn, but what you're going to do as well. And the 501 course, it taught me all about how internet, or not internet, but technology is there in the room as we speak. It's already here, and they were telling me terms like RSS that I'd never heard. I'm like, hey, I've never even seen that before, and yet it's been everywhere. And it's not like I'm a luddite. It's not like I'm somebody that's just completely out of technology. I mean, I had a smartphone, I've had a computer in my house for 10 years, but from the time I started, um, but I wasn't involved. I knew a TED Talk existed, but I wasn't like utilizing that. I wasn't bringing it forth to the classroom to make me more powerful at teaching. And this program, that course, that 501 course, really opened my eyes to that, and all the things we did in there what this is, what utilizing technology in the classroom is. And then the 502 course, the Internet for Educators, that course had you develop in pages, and that one, it showed me things that I had never even thought about before, because to me it was just magic. Hey, there's a web page, and I'd never even considered the idea, the artisticness behind it, the thought that went into it, the idea that you can't just scatter things all over the page. You got to be really articulate, you got to be concise, you got to put things in just the right spot. People's eyes aren't going to necessarily go up and down in this particular on this particular spot on this particular page. And so we put together pages, and um, the right off the bat, the Netiquette one, we had to put one together that was Netiquette, and so let's take a look at this Netiquette one. And that one, I had to realize that it's not just text. You had to give it some sort of visual appeal, and so I did. I tried to make it so that it was something that when you looked at it, you were satisfied with what you were looking at. You said to yourself, okay, this is fine, I can look at this page. And it was just a simple thing. It was just it was such a small, seemingly assignment in the course, and yet it meant so much to me. I was like, oh, wow, I get this now. In order for you to create this web page, there's art behind this. There's thought. There's design. It's not just scribble, scribble, go. You really got to put your heart, your mind, your thought process, your creativity, you got to put it all in there. everything, because otherwise it's not going to fly. You're not going to be able to say, I get what's going on here without that, because the student or the learner or even just a simple viewer is just not going to look. They're just going to go away from it. And so then we went on in that class. We had a couple more projects, and we came across there was the copyright one. There was a jigsaw activity, which was neat. And then we made the virtual tour. So let's look at the virtual tour here. And the virtual tour was one in which I had them go to Giza, and I had them go to Egypt and Angkor Wat, and it was really neat, and it was really entertaining for the students to surf through this and find the geometry that I was asking them to do, and then utilize their geometry, but only through this web page that I took them around, like around the world in, if you will. And they had such a good time with it. It's a staple in my classroom now to make sure we utilize. And they love these pictures, they love these ideas. This Egypt trip they take with this like virtual tour that wraps around the pyramids themselves. But then at the same time, it was introducing the geometry. It had it such that they were doing the geometry from that page. And so, like, being able to take these things that I've done with this program and actually put it right into my classroom in that case and use them, and the students appreciate it as if it's just something that's on the internet and always has been, is actually kind of amazing. And I felt there was an amount of pride, there was an amount of, like, I felt successful in this, in what I was doing. And then we went into, in the 501 course, we also had a voice thread. And I had never done a voice thread before. I'd done PowerPoint, sure, but a voice thread where I actually put my voice or a video of myself on it, I'd never even seen that before. And so, like, several times throughout the ed tech program, I utilized the voice thread. I used it in the 501 course, and let's look at that one right here. And in that one, I had a digital divide project.
Ranked top 100 high school in the country. It's got a waiting list for every single grade of students that would love to go to this charter school. Everyone assumes that because we have a computer lab, we've solved for any kind of inequalities. Everybody assumes that the digital divide is quite simply just the haves and the have-nots. But what we're actually faced with is digital inequality. Consider this. Say a student without a smartphone or a computer with internet access at home is in my AP statistics class with lots of students that actually have both smartphones.
And honestly, this project was, it was a good one for me in that now once I utilized that voice thread, I understand what it could do. And then I made a few more voice threads as we went through the program. I made one for the instructional design course. Let's look at that. And in that one, I had to put together this, like we're making a game, and we're playing a game. It was called Gen I Revolution, and the students had to utilize this game in order to learn the material.
We'll take a look at the motivational categories, the ARCS model. One that I focused on here was the satisfaction category of the ARCS model, because this lesson is especially strong in building satisfaction for students who math has historically been no fun at all.
And now when I make voice threads for my students, I actually use them as study guides for exams. I'll create a voice thread for the students to, especially my AP statistics course, where the students will then watch the voice thread. They'll have the mathematics will appear in front of them. I'll actually combine it with the screencast as well. Well, they'll see the movement, the animation of the normal distributions or whatever it is we're going over with my voice off screen. It's almost like they get an extra lesson at their house if they're watching it at their house or wherever they are in their study hall. And it's a pretty powerful little tool. And I did not know this existed before the EdTech program introduced it to me. And that matters. Like now these students have thanked me. They've said, "Wow, that's great. That's really helpful for me." And then also I took a class, EdTech 537, blogging in the classroom. And in that one, I had to maintain a blog for the course, but it taught me all these different methodologies of blogging and what could it mean. So I introduced it to one of my classes, and let's look. And this blog that you're looking at here, this was my blog for my that personal financial literacy class. And what they do is they look at all the tasks that are available to them, and I put pictures in there to make them interesting for them, and they read the task at hand, and then they say, okay, this is what I'd like to do, and they have more tasks than they could possibly do for that, and they're trying to earn points to pass the class. And then when they look at the task as a way to how to complete it and how to turn it in, it's like the whole course is done right there. And now this course is entirely paperless. I actually make it such that everything they do in this course is right through this blog. Everything. They come into the class, they look and see what can I do to get points towards my grade based off what they're reading on that blog. And I got that from that EdTech 537 class. And it's kind of a little bit of a combination along also with Dr. Haskell's 531 Virtual Worlds course. And I wish I could give a demonstration here of my Minecraft world that I built, but I can't because I couldn't get into the server, and it just kept knocking me out for that world I built, which is a shame because I'm really proud of this one, and it really altered my classroom, especially my geometry class, in that I now, with those iPads, have students do what I did there. They build a world in Minecraft in my geometry class, and they express the geometry that they've learned inside this virtual world. We work together in that virtual world to express their learning. And they love that. And granted, yeah, I'm giving them a game to play, if you will, in Minecraft, but still, they love it. They absolutely love it. And you get those students that don't necessarily pick the right answer on that multiple choice, but they can really walk you through a Minecraft. And they have to demonstrate what they've learned through some sort of like final like demonstration. And I've seen a maze. I've seen you had to break through a wall in order to go through the right answer, as opposed to going through one of the wrong ones. There was a scavenger hunt, just a build fest. It did like so many different things with that. The 531 teaching in a virtual world, that class intimidated me to no end when it started. But by the end of it, I was thoroughly into it. Loved it, loved the idea of it, and I thrived with it. I loved it. I loved doing it. I loved being there. I loved being in the virtual world, and now my students get to experience that as well. And that's big. That matters to them in my classroom. It's an experience they take with them. And then also made using Flash animation in that 511 class, and let's look at that one. The Flash animation. This is a tutorial for my stats class, and it's statistical inference and confidence intervals, and you have to like understand the differences in all these statistical inference processes, and they go through them and they read them carefully. And I utilized all the tools that we were taught in Flash animation, even though it was suggested that this might be outdated someday. And then at the end of this, had a little quiz, and then they walk through the quiz and they try to make sure that they can answer these questions and it's exactly of what they just learned. So that Flash animation class, but that looked a little amateurish, I guess, but I was really proud of that. I was really proud of that I put together, and that's another thing that I've shown my students in my classroom that they've really liked and they've found to be a helpful tool to them going forth. And so I'm like, the integration of the technology that I'm learning in my classes is obvious and evident, and it's appreciated by the students every time. They're like, I like that. I really liked what I did with that. I liked how you presented that to me. I also once did a pod quiz. And what's that? I made a podcast for the multimedia course 513 with Dr. Hall, and we had to make a podcast to express what we learned. And one of the things I do is I'm on campus is I have to run a club. And so my club is trivia. And so I made a podcast that was a trivia event. And again, I let the kids hear it and they just loved it. They thought it was great. They thought it was super fun. And granted, it's got to have a lot of tweaking. And in order for me to do this more, I actually need a lot of time. So it'd have to be post Boise State for me, because it does take a lot of time to put together a podcast. But here, let's listen to what this podcast was.
Number 2,
the approximate ratio of the perimeter of a circle to its diameter. The approximate ratio of the perimeter of a circle to its diameter. And so that was really fun. That was fun to offer and do with the students. And then the last thing I'd like to show is a digital app that I made. And it was called Don't Bust the Budget. It's for that personal financial literacy class. And this was the hardest thing for me to do in the Boise State program. I found this very hard. It really beat me up. The whole time I was in this course, I was struggling with designing this game because I'm not a gamer. I never have been. And so I was way behind the curve on it. But then I put together the game, and the game itself I called Don't Bust the Budget. And it was just for a student to close read and articulate budgeting and how you would go about budgeting and what you would maintain and what would you be careful with. And so let's take a look at that. And you can see, again, kind of amateur, but you can click on spots and then that'll bring up the game, and you then would answer, like you'd read the prompt and you'd drag the things over to the right spots. And then if you're right, it stays. If you're wrong, you're going to get a little red X. And the game, for me, was an excellent expression of educational technology, where the student is now playing. And yeah, this one can be enhanced. And in fact, I have in that discrete task list on that blog that I have made it such that the students can enhance that game as a task. So what that game is going to be in the classroom. It's going to be one that over years, students, along with me, are going to get better and make it better and better, make it such that it gets used and used year after year after year, and it'll get more and more quality. And that, to me, is combining the internet, the educational technology as well, where you're taking what I'm teaching and technology, and you're combining those two, and the students they're already interested in doing that. They're already having fun with that. And then also the papers we wrote, where we wrote the instructional design project and the learning theories with the constructivist approach paper that I wrote, and the evaluation of the iPads that I did in EdTech 505. And all those papers were crucial to my actually having a depth of understanding with what I'm doing as an educational technologist, and honestly as a teacher, how people learn, what they're using in their minds to become learners. It was fascinating. It's things you'd never think of as a teacher, because you're just looking at these blank faces and you're just giving it to them. You're not really thinking about what's going on and how it's going about. And then multimedia, blogging, design, collaboration, all these things that I've done with EdTech, with Boise State in this educational technology program have been absolutely amazing. And to think that I was able to put this all together, that I was able to, go through the last 2.5 years, 3 years, and actually produce what I have, it's mind-boggling. And I can't thank Boise State enough, and all the professors that I've met and interacted with. They're so impressive. They were so heartfelt, good people that were always there for you, that always wanted to make sure that you were getting what you needed for your class. It was never just some one approach fits all kind of thing. They wanted you to consider yourself as the student. So that's my reflection video, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the feedback, and I again appreciate everything that Boise State has done. Thank you.